Hello. Welcome to My Secret Obsession. I'm Cherish Lively, and today I'm reading the first 2 chapters from Resthaven Cottage by Karen Thompson. So, get cozy, turn up the volume, and let's read a book. Resthaven Cottage, Not Your Average B&B, Chapter 1. Sitting in Peter's gourmet kitchen, I closed my eyes, massaging my aching temples. Had I made a severe mistake? It sounded fun when Peter suggested opening a bed and breakfast, but now, a few days before our grand opening, I was having doubts and lacking the courage I needed. Had I been too hasty in saying yes to Peter's dreams? It was way too late for that. Everything was ready, but me. There was no turning back now. 6 months earlier. It all started when my darling husband, Peter, woke up with a desire to cook. Peter hadn't made a meal in his entire life, not even toast. Well, I wouldn't stop him, would I? Even if he made burnt toast, I didn't have to cook. It turned out that Peter was a skilled cook, and as time passed, his cooking skills continued to improve. I have the extra kilos to prove it. Of course, I didn't tell Peter about portion control. I mean, who would ration good food? He started with some basic macaroni and cheese. Who could go wrong with that? As time passed, Peter became increasingly adventurous in the kitchen. He bought cookbooks by the dozen. Macaroni and cheese went out the window, and gourmet foods came in. Then Peter started staring into space for long periods. This meant only one thing: trouble. That's when his light bulb moment came. "Jillian, you remember that bed and breakfast we went to on our honeymoon?" He said it on a lazy Sunday afternoon, as I enjoyed the peace and a mug of steaming coffee. I glanced at my darling Peter lovingly, the color rising in my cheeks. He was still as handsome as when I met him 40 years ago. Aging suited him well, with his salt and pepper hair, which brought out the blue in his eyes. A smile formed on my lips, and a twinkle reached my eye. Reaching for his hand, smiling. "Yes, of course I remember our honeymoon." "What is the one thing you remember?" I looked at Peter, holding my hand over my mouth to cover my grin. "It was the food. You remember how amazing the food was?" I stared at him with my mouth ajar. "What? The food?" "Food wasn't my first thought." Peter began pacing around the room. "I've been thinking," he said. My mouth was open as I bent my head. I took a deep breath and braced myself. "Why don't we open a bed and breakfast, Jillian, like the one we visited on our honeymoon? We could sell up and find an old cottage near the coast." I sensed from Peter's excitement and high-pitched voice that he'd been thinking about this for some time. Retirement was lurking around the corner. A change was in the air, and the house was too big for us. I flashed him a smile. "Sounds nice, dear." In excitement, Peter turned and grinned, his eyes sparkling with delight. "Really? You think it's a good idea?" Holding my fingers crossed behind my back. "Sure. Why not?" I hoped it would be a passing phase and he would forget about it. Turns out, I was very wrong about that. The fun was only beginning. Peter moved at an alarming rate. Before I knew what was happening, he resigned from his job, put our large double-story house up for sale, and we started hunting for a cottage near the sea. Peter never let the grass grow under his feet. He had it all worked out. It seemed he'd been planning this for a while, waiting for a lazy Sunday morning to spring it on me. He wanted to buy something small that could accommodate 5 guests. Much to my relief, he declared he would do all the cooking, and we would employ a housekeeper to help us. My job was to greet the guests and smile all day. He made it sound all so easy and idyllic. I mean, how hard could it be? Peter wasn't a people person. He was more of a background type of guy. He planned to stay in the kitchen and prepare meals, leaving the guests to me. I'm still undecided about whether that was a good idea or not. "You love a good chat, Jillian. Now you can do it all day." That was his reasoning. 6 months later, I am sitting in Peter's dream large warm kitchen, having second thoughts. "Nervous?" Peter asks as he reaches over and squeezes my hand. "Yes, a bit." I couldn't lie. 1,000 questions went through my head. I shut them up quickly, ignoring them and their persistence. They demanded answers, answers that I didn't have. I smiled, being positive. Darling, it will be grand. Don't worry, it will be such fun, Peter said, clapping his hands and bouncing on his white sneakers. I shook my head and smiled. I'd never known Peter to be so happy before. He had found his passion, and he was ecstatic, whistling all day as he planned the menus and purchased ingredients. He offered the future guests the option of having dinner and breakfast. Secretly, he just wanted to cook more. Yes, my Peter was one cheerful man. I was sure I would come around. I just had to get used to having people in my house. They had their rooms, but I preferred my own privacy. I was worried about how I would cope. My shoulders rose as the tension filtered through my body. Every muscle stood at attention. I'm going for a walk, called out to Peter, who had his head in a cookbook. He looked up briefly and nodded. Good idea, Jillian. The fresh air will do you good. Don't forget to wrap up warmly. It's windy out there today. I smiled as I stood, put on my black walking boots and gray anorak, and tied my long, ash-blonde wavy hair into a tight ponytail. See you soon, I called out. But Peter was miles away, creating another cuisine for dinner tonight. The back door clicked behind me, and I released a loud sigh. I could feel the wind breaking along the shoreline, causing a shiver to run down my arms. The wind tousled my ponytail as I stepped onto the worn pathway to my newly discovered bench overlooking the sea. Druvale is a sleepy town with a beautiful location near the sea. The waves slowly crash, and the soothing sound helps you drift off to sleep at night. This inspired us to call our new bed and breakfast Resthaven Cottage. If you couldn't rest here, you couldn't rest anywhere. They had built the old cottage in the early 1960s, and most of the plumbing and wiring needed to be redone. Everything was outdated and needed replacing. Peter, an engineer, had numerous contacts in the business before retiring, which helped us secure the jobs. Many owed him favors from the years that they had dealt with him. Now was the time to cash in. I loved living in the sleepy, quaint coastal town of Druvale, where the birds chirped in the pine trees that soared to heights that nearly touched the clouds. The sound of the ocean crashing against the rocks on the sandy beach. The world stood still in Druvale, with no noise or sirens. Yes, life moved more slowly here. I pulled my anorak's hat over my head as a strand of hair tumbled across my face. The chilly wind nipped at my cheeks, and I shuddered. I turned back to look at our cottage with its bright green door. She stood majestically, surrounded by pine trees. The sense of home filled me. The cottage looked appealing as it stood in the landscape, basking in the sunlight. What a gem! With the right touches added, we brought her back to life. The freshly painted bedrooms featured queen-size beds adorned with soft white Egyptian cotton sheets, offering a luxurious and cloud-like sleeping experience. We're all eagerly waiting for the guests, feeling excited and nervous. Light streamed through the sheer curtains hanging from the wooden-framed windows in each room. We stocked personal bar refrigerators with treats to tantalize the taste buds. Peter was itching to use his state-of-the-art kitchen and had already planned the menus. The cottage had stolen our hearts the moment we saw it. As they say, location, location, location. We designed our cozy 2 living rooms with large reclining sofas for watching TV or reading. We had positioned modern furniture with the help of a designer to ensure that each room took full advantage of the beautiful surrounding views. A conservatory at the back of the cottage was perfect for entertaining and dining. We thought of serving tea and cakes there on Sunday afternoons, as the sunlight filtered through the windows, allowing our guests to take in the view and relax. We decorated the cottage tastefully and luxuriously for our guests. The overgrown gardens surrounding the cottage was a vast project in themselves. We had planted fragrant rosa ballerina shrubs in the flower beds leading up to the front steps. Their soft pink petals graduated to a delicate white center, scattered among the field of ferns. Excitement bubbled in my stomach for the first time in ages. The feeling returned to my hands, now that the work was done. My blisters could heal. It had taken a lot of work and planning, but it was worth it. Chapter 2. Walking down the path towards the beach in the fresh, chilled air, I saw a slim woman's figure near the cliff top, standing far too close to the edge. I walked closer to get a better view. The young woman, in her mid-20s, stared at the sea as if in a trance. Her shoulder-length brown hair hid her face as the wind blew it against her cheeks. My gut feeling of impending doom went into high gear. Something wasn't right with this picture. "Excuse me, dear. I'm sorry to bother you. Would you like to visit the new cottage my husband and I have renovated? We have the most amazing coffee machine, and my hubby has just baked a moist chocolate velvet cake, which is worth eating." My voice emerged, slightly high-pitched, but I needed her to move back from the edge. She jerked to face me, her brown eyes widening like a trapped animal. She swiped her tear-stained cheeks with the back of her hand. The woman probably thought I was a weirdo for inviting her for coffee in the middle of a suicide attempt. In this situation, what do you say? I strolled towards her with a forced smile on my face. I sweetened my voice. "Come and have a coffee with me." I lifted my palm. "Or I have several fresh teas if you don't like coffee." She blinked as her eyes took me in. "I do like coffee," she whispered in a broken voice. "That's wonderful. I always get along with people who love coffee," I said, reaching for her hand. "Let's get out of this wind. What do you say?" She stared intensely at me as if in a coma. "I'm Jillian Osborne, by the way." She turned and gazed at me. "Kathy Cooper." I held my arms around her narrow waist for a few minutes. She was as still as a statue. Then slowly, she relaxed. Looking at me tearfully, she said, "Coffee would be nice, thank you." "Wonderful. Now that I've mentioned the chocolate cake, my taste buds are dancing around." I wanted Kathy to relax as I tried to make light conversation, but it seemed like I was putting my foot in my mouth each time I spoke. I held her icy hand as I led her back to the cottage. "Let's get you inside and warmed up." We strolled back to the cottage in silence. I continued to hold her limp hand. I explained how Peter and I had just bought and renovated the place, and she nodded. "Yes, I noticed the renovations." "You live locally?" I asked, fishing for more information. She nodded. "You're welcome to stay in one of our rooms. We have no one booked in yet." Kathy's body tensed up as the unexpected events took her by surprise. Looking at me with fear in her eyes, unable to blink, her lips formed an uncertain smile. "I couldn't impose on you." "Impose? Oh, no, dear. You'd be doing me a favor. My husband, Peter, has taken up cooking. I'm telling you, he is quite the chef. Now that he has his gourmet kitchen, it's all he wants to do. And guess who the guinea pig is?" I laughed, pointing to my expanding middle. "Please, you must stay and help me eat his delicious food. I'm begging you. I need your help here." As if I were praying, I held up my hands. A small smile rose across Kathy's lips as her mind shifted gears from her dark, looming thoughts. She felt a little ray of sunshine sliding across her face. Yes, just a little hope. I led Kathy through the back door, straight into the warm kitchen. Peter stood at the sink, washing dishes. Had I mentioned that Peter cleans up after himself when he makes a mess in the kitchen? It's all too good to be true. Don't be jealous now. Do you want to know if he has a twin? Sorry, no, he doesn't. "Peter, look who I found on my walk. Meet Kathy, our first guest." "Kathy, this is my wonderful husband, Peter Osborne," I said, pointing to Peter. He glanced up, surprised, raised one eyebrow at me, and dried his hands on the floral tea towel as he reached over to take Kathy's extended hand. "Nice to meet you." Kathy and I would love a nice cup of coffee and cake. I told Kathy all about it on our walk. Our taste buds are now standing at attention in anticipation. Right, Kathy? Kathy nodded as if any sudden movement would cause her pain. She ran her long, bony fingers through her hair, settling it down again. "We'll take our coffee to the living room while we chat." I winked at Peter. Of course, he winked back. Such an intelligent man, my Peter. Being married for so long, we could read each other's minds. I helped Kathy remove her wet gray jacket and boots, hanging them on the back door hook. Thank you, she mumbled. I was winning a battle every time I got her to smile. Her brown eyes drooped as if a great tragedy had happened. I would need to be patient. She would talk when she was ready. She appeared to have been through the ringer. Her unkempt brown hair needed a good comb and shampoo. She had no makeup. The wrinkles in her clothes needed an iron set to the hottest setting. And goodness me, that gray coat of hers had seen better days. I guided her to the smaller living room, where the cozy ambiance welcomed us. The thick beige carpet beneath our feet provided a comforting sensation. The 2 oatmeal Cambridge sofas tempted me to sit there all day. Positioned against the wall, a 4-seater and a 3-seater sofa offered ample space for guests. The large, matching striped ottoman was the perfect resting place for tired feet. The gigantic wooden clock on the wall said 11 o'clock, the ideal time for morning tea. I motioned to Kathy. Please, sit down and make yourself at home. She nodded and chose the 3-seater sofa, plonking her weary body down as if she could not hold it up a moment longer. I sat beside her, moving the plush teal cushions out of the way. Peter strode in with a large tray, and the coffee aroma filled the room. How I love the smell of coffee. Thank you, my love. I took the tray from him and placed it on the ottoman. I'll show Kathy to her room after we talk for a while. Winking at him again. No problem. I'm busy planning dinner. I hope you like to eat, Kathy, as I'm cooking up a storm. Peter called over his shoulder as he left. Kathy smiled, staring out the window, lost in her thoughts. Would you like sugar with your coffee? She nodded, reaching for the cup and the slice of cake I handed her. Lightening the mood, I cheekily mentioned, I can't be responsible for calories you may put on while eating his cake or any of his meals. We ate silently, mostly because I didn't know what to say. This would be a first for me. It's not every day that one finds oneself in this position. Curiosity got the better of me. Do you live close by? She nodded. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. Do you need anyone to help you get your stuff? She let out a loud sigh and nodded again. Placing my hand on her thigh, I offered gently, I can take you and help you pack if you like. We sipped our coffee and ate our cake in silence again. Kathy hardly touched her cake. Then suddenly, she dissolved into loud, uncontrolled weeping. A loud, piercing voice of a wounded animal filled the room. I wrapped my arms around her and held her. Before I knew it, I found myself crying too. I rocked her gently, reassuring her. Sweetheart, I'm sorry for all of your pain. I want you to know you have a friend here, and when you want to talk, I can be an excellent listener. Between the loud sobs, she whispered, Thank you. Would you like to take a nap? Her face grew pensive. Why are you so kind to me? You don't even know me. I tilted my head and smiled at her. Because I can, and I want to. Kathy's eyes grew large as she placed her hand over her mouth. She quickly added, I can't pay you for the room. I'm unemployed. Now, don't you worry about that. We will sort something out later. I was clasping her hand. I led her up the stairs to the first bedroom. A sense of pride came over me as I opened the solid oak door. The room was warm and inviting. Citrus air freshener still lingered from this morning. The soft shade of pale yellow walls brought an instant warmth, and the matching duvet cover made the room feel like a cloud of cotton candy. Would Kathy feel at home here and find much-needed peace? Reassuring her, I placed a hand on her bony shoulder. Now, don't you worry about anything. Peter and I will be here to help you get through this. I promise. I was concerned. What things were there to sort out? Kathy placed her hands over her mouth, holding back her sobs. No ring graced her fingers. I don't think I can ever get through this. How could I comfort her? Time is a great healer, one day at a time. Now, if you need anything, I'll be downstairs. I helped her to bed like a child, pulled the fleecy blanket over her body, and kissed her forehead. I closed the door behind me. Peter was busy in the kitchen. He turned and stared at me, full of concern. "Hello. What's that all about?" "I'm not sure. I found Kathy while I was out on my walk. She was getting ready to jump off the cliff." Peter's eyes widened. "What? That's terrible. How did you get her to come with you?" "I told her about your chocolate velvet cake." Peter stopped what he was doing and drew me into a hug. "That's one thing I love about you. You say the right things." I gave him a gentle push, laughing. "You cheeky man." We stared at each other, realizing the magnitude of our situation. Were there people looking for Kathy? Had she done something terrible? What was she running from? Frowning, Peter asked, "Should we call the police? What do you plan to do?" In the pit of my stomach, I felt she had done nothing wrong, but more likely, something terrible had happened to her. "I'm not sure yet. Kathy doesn't want to return to her home. We may have to pick up some things. We will know more once she shares the information with us. Right now, she needs stability, hope, and TLC. I sensed she had had a terrible shock, and the burden was too much to bear. Let her sleep, and then we can talk some more. Life can be tough sometimes." 4 hours later, Kathy came downstairs and strolled into the kitchen. The strain on her face subsided, and the color on her cheeks returned. We offered her something to eat. Kathy sighed. She grabbed my hands. "It's been a tough few days, and I just couldn't see my way past it all. I have nothing to live for at the moment. Debbie is gone." The tears continued to flow. I whispered, "Debbie?" "Yes, my little girl. She died suddenly 4 days ago. Cot death, they said. They can't explain why it happened." Kathy sobbed. "You poor thing." I hugged her, cradling her in a tight embrace. A loud moan filled the room. "My life is now empty. How can I live without her?" I gulped the lump in my throat. "How old was she?" "Only 3 months." I stared at Peter. His eyes filled with tears, too. He stood close to her, seeming unsure if he should reach out and touch Kathy's shoulder. It shocked us to hear about the ordeal she'd gone through. "I don't know what to say. I can't imagine what you're going through. You can stay with us. We will assist you in any way possible. Won't we, Peter?" Peter stood back and nodded, quickly, adding, "Of course, anything you need." Kathy nodded her head in gratitude. She tried to smile, but her mouth wouldn't cooperate. Her lips stayed in a flat line. This poor girl had nothing to smile about. Nothing at all. Kathy went to the sink and poured a glass of water. Turning towards Peter and me, she said, "Thank you, but I need to keep busy. I can't bear all of this sitting around waiting for something to happen. I used to be so busy with Debbie. She was my full-time job, and now there's nothing. Just emptiness." "Where's your family and Debbie's father?" "My family left after the funeral, having their own lives to return to." Kathy stared out the window. "Strange. Their lives go on, but mine stopped. Mom wanted me to live with her, but I wanted to stay close to Debbie. I buried her in the Drew Vale Cemetery. As for her father, he's long gone. As soon as I told him I was pregnant, he ran. So it's just me. I have a few friends in town, but I am not great company, so I hear little from them. It's difficult for people to be around me. No one knows what to say." Moving back to the table, she sat down again. "You can stay here. We have a vacancy and need assistance with housekeeping. We had planned to put an ad in the local paper, but it's yours if you want the job." A flick of hope entered her eyes. "Yes, please. I'd love to work for you both. You've been so kind to me. Could I work as part of my rent payment?" "I don't see a problem. What do you think, Peter?" Peter smiled at Kathy. "That would be a great idea." Kathy grinned and let out an enormous sigh. "Thank you. I'm grateful to you both. I need to pick up some things from my apartment in town." "Let me take you." I was curious to see where she lived. Yes, please. I already handed my notice in at my apartment, as I wasn't planning on returning today. Kathy lowered her head. There isn't much to get. I got rid of everything because I didn't want to leave things for others to have to deal with when I left. I placed her hand in mine. Now you have us and a new life. We'll take small steps, one day at a time, but you'll heal, and we'll be there to help you all the way, won't we, Peter? Peter nodded, smiling. Yes, of course. And I will make it my mission to feed you healthy food to help you get better. Kathy got up and glanced at us. Thank you. Could we go now? I want to get it over and done with. Please? Sure. Let me get my car keys. I ran up the stairs to our bedroom at the end of the hall. My bag sat on my white 6-drawer dresser. I paused for a moment. Were we doing the right thing? I didn't plan for our housekeeper to live with us. She'd take a room away from the B&B. Jillian, I scolded myself. There was no time to ponder this. She is a lost soul. She needs your help. Who cares about the room? We arrived outside an old block of apartments on the left side of town. I parked my green Hyundai Getz in the parking bay for the complex. Climbing out, I tilted my head towards Kathy. Are you okay with going in? She nodded. It's only my clothes and some stuff. Mom and Dad took all of Debbie's furniture and clothing. My apartment came furnished. No need for a trailer. Kathy's apartment was on the ground floor. There are no stairs today. I didn't have the energy either. When we entered, my jaw dropped for a beat. She wasn't lying. She had very few belongings. Her clothes fit into one suitcase, and her toiletries and miscellaneous items into another. The tiny apartment was small. Making sure we had everything, we closed the door behind us. Kathy took a deep breath. That's that, then. The journey home was silent. I did not know how to put my thoughts into words. I stretched out and took her hand, smiling. You are so brave. I don't feel brave. You've taken a big step. Now it's a new start. She tilted her head, close to tears again. Thank you for sharing your time with me. Your time and attention are truly appreciated. If audiobooks are your thing, you can listen to full novels on My Secret Obsession at Spotify, Amazon, iHeart, and Apple. If you enjoyed this reading, please follow, subscribe, or give a thumbs up. Your support means everything to me. Until we meet again, goodbye and happy reading.